Good morning, ladies and lasagnas. This one has been directed to me and is apparently quite wild and quite long, so expect this to be a two-parter. I'm sorry, but it is called Mother-in-Law in the Wild, the Insane Granny Saga. I'm sorry, but you think I'm not reading this, you're out of your goddamn mind. Alright. Let's jump into this. Let's see. So this was originally posted on October 3rd, 2016. It's by TheFlyingPigSquadron, which is a great name in Just No Mother-in-Law. Oh. And I've got a very judgmental cat near me, so if you hear strange noises, it's probably me. He's just doing his own thing. So this happened earlier today over the course of 3 to 4 minutes. Some relevant background, I broke my ankle and a few toes on opposite feet, that's impressive, weeks ago. My cast was removed 3 weeks ago, so I'm mobile now, down to using only one crutch, mostly for balance. This has meant that my brother has been chauffeuring me around everywhere, including to and from work. He was running late today, so I wobbled my way down to the supermarket to grab milk, etc. And I told him to pick me up outside the store, at a little pick-up drop-off point at the entrance. So I was sitting on the bench outside the store, when a wild mother-in-law appeared with her brother-in-law and grandchildren. I'm not sure how old the kids were. I'm no good at judging kids' ages. Based on her stream of babbling, I don't think she could speak just yet. The mother-in-law or the child? Probably the child. Okay. She was sitting in the little chair thing in the trolley, seemed quite happy. Mother-in-law was an older woman who was just walking slowly but seemed to be fine. DIL parked in the trolley, and kid beside told MIL to just wait here. She'll go get the car so mother-in-law doesn't have to walk across the car park. From what I got from the conversation. Mother-in-law had been moaning about her feet and wanted to sit down. Dad-in-law was trying to get her to sit on the bench and mother-in-law was battering herself. I promptly put a stop to all that by offering the mother-in-law the dry part of the bench and moving further away to leave it against the wall. Mother-in-law didn't even look at me before sitting down. Like she'd been crowned. Daddy-in-law kissed the kid and told, "Mummy will be back in a moment. You be good for Granny. I will go for a fun ride in the car." Kid's happy and excited for the car ride. Mum disappears. As soon as Dad-in-law is out of earshot, the mother-in-law turned to the kid and said, "You're such a bad little girl. See, Mummy's leaving you here. She's gone without you. No car for you." What the fuck? The kid burst into tears, screaming for her mum. I'm not sure how much the kid understood of what mother-in-law said. May have been all that she could have just understood is the no car part. Either way, it was a shitty thing to say to a grandchild or child TBH. I mean, kids normally pick up on emotions and those emotions are that of a wretched bog witch. Which is what I aspire to be, but not that kind. This didn't really have much effect on the kid, blah blah blah. I looked at her right away and gave her a raised eyebrow. Some serious glaring which probably gave away the fact that I heard her. She completely changed her tune, loudly telling the kid that she was only joking and Mummy will be right back. This didn't have much of an effect on the kid, and she was working herself into a right state. So mother-in-law decided to take her out of the trolley seat. She plonked the screaming kid on her feet and turned back to sit on the bench. Guys, this kid could have been given a Usain Bolt run for his money. The moment she sat her, not particularly stable balance, she made a run for it, screaming for her mummy, straight towards the road. There was about 15 feet between the road and me, still leaning against a wall, and half that between the kid and the road. In the time it took for me to realise the kid was heading for the road, mother-in-law hadn't seen a thing, the kid had made it past the bollard with the bollards outside the shops in the UK. I'm not sure why, but I have my theories. I've never moved so fast in my life. Managed to go the kid and make it back to the pavement before my uncle realised that a full sprint so soon was not a good idea. Neither of my legs were interested in supporting me after that, so I sort of just crumpled in a heap on the pavement with this kid. Next thing I know, Dad-in-law is there taking the kid from me. It was her car that she'd run in front of. Dad-in-law was crying, the kid was crying, I was crying, it fucking hurt. Mother-in-law was still sitting on the bench. Anyway, I blame it on the adrenaline and the pain because normally I wouldn't get involved. But I told the Dad-in-law exactly what had happened. All of it. Even what mother-in-law had said to the kid. When I left, Dad-in-law was still screaming at mother-in-law. There's an update? Okay. That was fucked. Update 1, 4th of October 2016. Firstly, the ankle is sore, swollen, bruised, but thankfully not rebroken. Doctor says it's badly sprained and will set my recovery back, but I don't need to go back for a cast. Yay. So because of the appointment with my physio this morning, I decided to wait for that instead of heading to A&E that night. Long story short, my physio was convinced my ankle had rebroken, set me up for an x-ray. A nurse porter, not sure what, stuck me in a wheelchair to take me and got a good chatting. So nurse, how did you manage to hurt yourself around that time? Oh, I chased after a kid that ran into traffic. Nurse, my god, what happened? What was the story? Me, yesterday, gets ready to tell a story. Nurse, wait, was this at a supermarket? Me, yeah. Nurse, oh my god, that's my niece. The mother-in-law is her mother. Apparently, her sister-in-law, so dad-in-law from yesterday, took off and left her mother-in-law, the nurse's mother, at the store yesterday. She's pretty sure her brother and sister-in-law are now NC, no contact, and her sister-in-law's been pushing for no contact, but brother, dad-in-law's husband, is still mummy's boy, so had been reluctant. Bastard. She's already no contact with her mother after she caught her initially pinching her newborn. She also told me that her niece is fine, but sister-in-law got a big fright, understandable. Almost got hit by a car. Dad's car. So there you go. It's a damn small world. I had hundreds of questions for her, but I thought it might be a bit rude. I'm not sure if I'll run into her again. Wasn't really clear in the hospital she worked, or she actually does, but you never know. Update 2. October 11th, 2016. I didn't really expect to have an update for this again. I was pretty sure it was all over. I was wrong. I had another physio appointment today and ran into the kid's aunt. As it turns out, she's training to be a physio, so I'll probably be seeing a lot of her. After my appointment, she asked if she could talk to me, so we had to sit down and chat. Turns out, insane granny has gone bananas. She's apparently got enough sense about her to realize that the kid's mum had a damn good reason to go no contact along with the kid, and could probably convince her husband, kid's dad, to go no contact too. So she knowing she's probably about to cut off, and she made preemptive strike against the kid's mum and dad. She called the police and told them about the incident in my original post, except she's completely changed the story. According to her, the kid's mum was being mean and neglectful to the kid. An insane granny called out to her, which evolved into an argument. While they were arguing, the kid ran off into the road. Insane granny noticed and ran after her. The kid's mum then snatched the kid away from granny, left granny at the store. No mention of me. Based on how quickly things moved, they think insane granny told the police the story on the day of the incident, if not the day after. I'm not sure what the rules are around the world, but here in Scotland, the police have to investigate, and they have to inform social services, who then have to do an initial assessment. The kid's school doctor, it's so hard not to do. I'm going to do a little bit of a Scottish. No, I'm not. Basically, there was a few compulsory boxes to be ticked before deciding whether or not to carry out a more in-depth investigation. There isn't much you can do to stop it. So the police dropped in to visit the kid's mum and dad on Thursday. The kid's mum told her version of events, but couldn't really give much specifics. She wasn't really there. She only really knew what I told her. So the police and presumably social service have two conflicting reports, one of which claims the involvement of third party me. The next day, they received notice that social services would be in touch. This has all lit a fire under the kid's dad's butt and confronted insane granny. The highlight, told to me at least, include her endgame is to get custody of the kid. Okay. She hopes the kid's mum will be in jail. She admitted to lying to the police, but is confident the kid's mum can't prove what actually happened because there's no way she'll be able to find me to collaborate. Funny. The kid's aunt was told all over the weekend, and while everyone seems to be sure both police and social services won't find any problems, they're understandably nervous. The aunt didn't tell the kid's mum and dad that she'd met me in the hospital for two reasons. She didn't actually have my permission to do so, and definitely didn't have my permission to get in contact with details. Basically, the aunt asked if I'd be willing to give my side of the story to the police and social services. The kid's parents contacted me. I've agreed, and the aunt is going to pass on everything to the kid's parents. Chances are, they won't need me to do anything, but you know. I also pointed out the security cameras at the store would have caught everything. That'll probably be the police's first stop. So the drama continues. This is bloody great, mate. Update 3. 16th of October, 2016. So, things have gotten interesting. The kid's mum contacted me and we met up for coffee yesterday. Look, mate, you're not supposed to date the kid's mum. You're just supposed to help out their situation. Anyway, she's a really nice lady who works under a lot of stress. I told her about just no mother-in-law, and she said she'd have a browse, though I have no idea if she was just being polite or not. She ended up a bit of a ranting mess, but I don't blame her, to be honest. She did clear up a few things though. The big one being, insane granny didn't call the police. She called a friend of hers who works in social services. God, I hate nepotism. Insane granny gave social service friend her version of events, and the friend officially reported the kid's mum, and that's how the police became involved. Social services contacted them, and most likely spearheaded by social services friend, though this is speculation on the kid's parents' part, believed the kid be in immediate danger. The police have found that the kid is in no immediate danger, but they're still investigating what happened at the store. I'm going to give them a statement at some point next week, and that should hopefully end it. Oh no, it won't. Social services, on the other hand, is a totally different can of worms. Completely mangled baked beans. Squish sardines. Okay, I'm done making up things. Regardless of how they get involved, they still have to do an initial assessment, and will be investigating the incident at the store. From the kid's mum told me, insane granny's social service friend is either pushing everything or is actually in charge of the investigation. So far, the social service friend is mostly doing her job, though rather invasively. She's also allowed to speak to all of the kids' parents, neighbors, co-workers, the kids' school, the kids' doctor. What she isn't allowed to do is show up at the kids' parents' house with insane granny to try to force reconciliation. Apparently, insane granny really went for the manipulation and gaslighting in front of the social service friend. She's going to try to make the kid's mum look insane. Between bouts of fake crying, she's acted concerned about the kid's mum. Sorry if you hear this, the cat's going ham on the microphone. Get out of the way, little fella. Between bouts of fake crying, she has acted concerned about the kid's mum's mental state, saying she must be hallucinating. She's remembering the incident wrong. Said that the kid should be in place, insane granny's care, until all this nonsense is sorted. Asked her son, the kid's dad, how the divorce proceedings are going. Okay. They are not divorcing. She's trying to make it look like they are to her friend. Told the kid's mum that she was glad she was feeling well enough to clean the house, and asked her if she managed to feed the kid today. Okay. When the parents pulled their trump card, the fact that the aunt, and now they're in contact with me, she started to fake crying and asking why aunt and kid's mum are lying to everyone. The kid's mum had dragged aunt into a delusion that she, the kid's mum, needs help. She turned to the social service friend and told her aunt that the kid's mum must be playing some poor homeless girl or student to lie for her. I totally called that, by the way. I knew she was going to accuse me of lying or something similar. At this point, the kid's mum admits she's lost it, and insane granny was screaming at her to leave. I was convincing enough for the social service friend and apparently the kid's dad to suggest the kid's dad might want to have the kid's mum's section committed to psychiatric facility. Once the social service friend and insane granny left, the kid's parents argued, the gist of it being the kid's dad was gotten sort of taken in by his mother. Insane granny's claim. She didn't tell me much about that, just he's sleeping in the guest room now. I offered to speak to him, but she, rightly I suppose, thinks he should trust her without outside input. I advised her to contact social service herself and give them my contact information, so there's an official paper trail. An insane granny social worker friend can't claim she didn't know anything about me. I've also told her to make a complaint about social services friend, and she's nervous about that. Doing so right now would make things worse. So that's where we are right now. I doubt there'll be much of an update. Once I speak to social services and the police, the kids' parents are going to keep me in the loop. So if there's any more drama, please don't let there be any more drama. Of course there's more drama. I'll update again. Edit. I want to clear up something. I realize I didn't make this particularly clear in this post. The kid's mum will definitely be reporting the social services friend. We know what she's doing is illegal. She's just nervous that reporting it right now will make things worse. I know it won't. You know it won't when she does, that it won't be so far that everyone turns against her. So I don't blame her for feeling this way. However, talking to her again about reporting her now. I also missed out from the post-fact I mentioned before about getting a solicitor. She never really gave me a straight answer regarding that issue, but she's at least aware that she should get legal help. Update 4, October the 17th, 2016. I asked the kid's mum if she wanted me to go and make a statement to the police or just wait until social service contact me. She wanted me to go to the police as she's trying to get an interverdict order, essentially restraining order against insane granny. So I went to give my statement to the police and oh boy, has insane granny done a number of them. After the kid's parents told her that they were in contact with me, she went to the police and told them that I might come in, claiming to have been involved in the original store incident. She'd managed to weave some intricate lie, essentially trying to discredit me before I gave my evidence. This worked to a certain extent. The officer in charge of the case made it clear that he thought I was lying and had been paid off. He asked me a few times how much I was making doing this, and told me I could be arrested for wasting police time and perjury. He was immediately dismissive of me and condescending, which I'm ashamed to say I didn't respond to very well. I mentioned in a comment on one of my previous posts that I work in forensics. I've been an expert witness, both educational and reporting, implying that I could be accepting bribes or lying could potentially kill my career. No way am I endangering my career because some manipulative old lady, an officer wrapped around a gnarly old witch finger. Okay. Unfortunately, I've worked more than my fair share. Unfortunately, I've worked with a more share of my fair share of people who take one look at me and think I'm some sort of inexperienced daft bimbo. I usually try to assert myself, that doesn't work, and let them embarrass myself. It happens eventually. In this case, it happened at the end of the interview when he asked me for my employment details. My official job title sounds way more important than it is. There's the words lead, investigator, forensic, and a few other ones in there. Make me sound impressive. That definitely made him shut up and listen. Thank you. I'm not gonna lie, I kinda chewed him out a bit, though he mostly realizes himself that he fucked up and allowed himself to be completely manipulated by insane granny, and I pointed out there's pure luck that what I did for a living comes with a lot of credibility, and what would have happened if I'd been some poor student or someone uncomfortable with this type of situation, or heck, anyone else. So I set the record straight about insane granny. Well, what I knew to be fact, I also filled him in off the record about what aunt and kid's mum had told me, which obviously I can't prove. So we had a chat and I got a few things straightened out, one of which was insane granny did in fact contact the police after the incident at the store. I was originally told that she contacted the police who contacted social services. Then I was told that wasn't true. Instead, insane granny contacted social services friend who reported the incident, somehow got the police. It was unclear how. So I think complete speculation on my and the police's part here, by the way, that once insane granny made her report to the police, they said they'd be contacting social services. Insane granny took it upon herself to contact social services friend. So we definitely know social service friend is not officially involved. A few who worked in social services pretty much did the same thing. Insane granny and social service friends are basically a rogue duo going around town trying to get dirt on the kid's mum. That's insane. That's actually insane. I reported her and I told the kid's mum, this too. The police are now aware of her, though whether they just let social service deal with her or go get themselves involved, I don't know yet. The officer also told me that some of the things insane granny had claimed about me. Now, before anyone loses their shit about him breaking confidentially, he never actually gave me her side of the story or told me what she said in the statement. I got all that from Aunt. All he told me is when she came in to warn him I'd be making a fake police report, she claimed to police I was someone she knows absolutely nothing about and met me for less than 5 minutes. I'm a poor student, desperate for money. I might be a drug addict, she doesn't know. I once tried to seduce her son, the kid's dad, which is impressive as I've never met the guy before. I mean, you did lay down on the road to save his kid. That's pretty cool. I'm seduced. Unfortunately, I gave him all of my watts, so I don't have any to spare for you. I also asked about the security cameras outside the store. They didn't manage to get anything from where they're aimed. The door, not the pickup area. I did have a look on the way in and thought it might have been a long shot. So, what's still to happen? The kid's parents have an official social service visit sometime soon. Social service will most likely want to talk to me. The police will be going after insane granny for wasting police time, filing a false police report. There will hopefully be a follow-up on my complaint, with my social service friend. There will be. Update 5. October 25th, 2016. I don't think you'll need your drama llamas for this update. More like you'll need your perplexed alpacas. Anyway, this one is more weird than dramatic. As some of you know, because of the state of my ankle, I've been staying with my parents and younger brother for the last few months. Well, on Monday, my mum had a day off and was puttering around the house. My parents' place is a really rural area of Scotland, and our closest neighbour is 6 miles away, and our house is at the end of what is essentially a mile-long dirt track, tractor track, and it's hard to find an only strangers we get out here are either forestry people who've missed the forest access road, or one or two brave, quite possibly lost, Jehovah's Witness. Google Maps and sat-nav cars can't find it, and no one delivers out here except for Royal Mail. At around noon, a car pulled up. However, no one got out. This isn't too unusual. As I said, it's usually somebody's lost, so she hung around the front door of the house in case they came over to ask for directions. Instead, after a few minutes, the car left, and about an hour later, the same car pulls up, and the same thing happens. Another hour goes by, and they're back again. Only this time, 2 women exited the car. They didn't go to the door, instead they decided to have a little snoop around. One tried to go around the back of the house, which is currently fenced off. At the back garden is being used as a paddock for a pregnant merino foal. Do not walk into that yard. You will get what you deserve. The others started trying to look into the windows, so my mum goes out and asks if she could help them. They very quickly said no and were just looking, before booking it back to the car and speeding off. Naturally, my mum was confused enough to tell my dad, brother and I what had happened. Pretty much as soon as we'd gone home. I've definitely been working forensics too long, as my immediate reaction was they were casing the place. Now we have security cameras. They're not for the house or security. They're originally set up around our back garden so we could watch for when the mare went into labour. They were never removed because the foal turned out to be the reincarnation of Houdini. And then we had a mare covered again. Okay, you so need to release videos of that. One of the cameras is aimed at the gate that one of the women tried to open, get into the back garden, so we had a little look at the footage. Can you guess who was trying to open the gate? Yep, it was Insane Granny at my parents' place. I have no idea who her friend was, or what they wanted, or why they didn't talk to mum. I can only assume she got this address from the kid's parent, my mum's. My money's on the dad. My mum had work off today as well, but she said no one turned up. However, I have the day off tomorrow. And apart from my brother being around in the morning, I'll be home alone. I know many of you will suggest calling the police for either harassment or trespassing or both, but in Scotland, trespassing is a civil matter, not a criminal. So, 1, they can't get involved, and the laws regarding trespassing, but they're mostly to do with squatting. And Scotland has a lot of public areas laws, which essentially let people go wherever they want regarding the rural areas. Yeah, that's normally a pretty positive thing, as long as they're not like walking into your living room and like pouring a cup of tea, you know? The stalking and harassment laws require 2 related incidents and must pass the reasonable person test. If an average person on the street was subject to this behaviour, would they feel threatened, alarmed or distressed? If not, there was no offence. The offender must be aware that what they're doing is causing alarm or distress. For example, if your mother-in-law wants to access your kids and keeps coming around to your house to complain every night for a fortnight, you become fed up and begin to feel distressed about your mother-in-law's constant visits. Your mother-in-law is aware that her behaviour will cause you distress and is hoping to wear you down into letting her see your kids. I am now particularly worried. I am not particularly worried. Even with my leg, I'm pretty sure I could take her. And my brother has graciously let me borrow his Bernard. His old shitty stick with a kitchen knife duct taped onto it. When I first broke my ankle so I could give myself a head injury. My brother and I all spent the night the next day binge watching The Walking Dead, and I think he freaked himself out as 2 days later, Bernard appeared. It was too close to Halloween for this shit. Okay, general views is that I should contact the police about this. I'm planning to call social services and the police tomorrow. I doubt the police will do anything, but as everyone has pointed out, at the very least, will be documented. I also texted the kid's mum, but I haven't heard back. Oh, That was so good. I am all out of puff. Once again, story from the Flying Pig Squadron, and there is boatloads more updates for this story. So do not worry, I will be filling the rest of this story in. But let's get back into some comments, and then I can go make myself a cuppa because I am bloody spent, right? Raw Heaven Pie says, getting stalked by a crazy old lady just because you prevented a toddler from running in front of a car. This is made for TV on Lifeline. Rafter says, sorry, RAFSTER929, in response to that says, this is why I love this sub. For all the doubters and skeptics, I don't care, it's such a good read. And the original poster is such a good writer. Masterpiece OK 4688 says, just when I thought nothing on Reddit could shock you anymore, here comes Borrow and says, hold my beer. Holy cow. Albrecht says, why is everyone called in-laws if they aren't in-laws? Automatic Mulberry, delicious by the way, says, given the story is because they are outlaws. Anik1511 gives clarification. I think it's because the grandmother is the mother-in-law of the kid's mother. They're not actually related, so basically it's woman, dad-in-law, and her mother-in-law went to the store. I was confused at first as well. Yeah, me too. But it became way more clear at the end. Alright, well, listen here, you little lasagnas. I'll catch you next time. I don't know how I'd feel about being called a little lasagna, but you can think about that till tomorrow.